Right. Good afternoon. So today also we have to continue that operating systems, unit number 5. Up to now we covered maybe the 90% of the unit we have covered, right? So we covered about operating system types. We took examples for operating systems, and also we took the services of operating system. That may be the one of the most important headings, the services of operating systems, right? Hardware management, and also providing user interfaces. So operating system has been fully covered, but still this unit has some other areas, other parts related to utility programs. So hope you remember that I started to discuss about utility programs in the last video lesson or last online class. So I mentioned that utility programs are for enhancing the performance of the computer. So whenever you use utility, definitely the performance of your computer should be increased. But it doesn't mean that that utility program is must for a computer, right? It is not must, but if you use, definitely you will have high performance from your computer, right? We have number of utility programs. I listed some of the most important utility programs, right? So I mentioned about disk partitioning software. We discussed about disk formatting software. At last, we started to discuss about defragmentation or disk defragmentation, right? So let's continue from that point. Right, so this is the one which we discussed earlier. So hope everyone knows or understands that fact. So generally, assume that it is the hard disk or platter. Hard is a part where the data are saved in a hard disk. So generally, the data or a file is not saved in a single place, right? So it can be broken into small pieces, and they are saved in different areas or different regions of your hard disk. So, right, those pieces of a file are called fragmented files, right? So here, look at those blue color parts. Everything is a piece of a file, not a 4 file or 5 file, one file, but we have 4 pieces, right? But all these pieces are scattered in different areas, right? So it is not good to have such fragmented files in different areas, because as we discussed earlier, whenever you want to read it, it takes time to read, because you know the head is the part which reads everything. So your hard disk head has to move here and there to get that data, right? Definitely it takes time. So we should arrange all these fragmented pieces or fragmented files in a neighboring cells, right? In a closer manner. That is called defragmentation, right? So here we have a fragmentation, we have fragmented file where a piece of a file, pieces of a file are scattered. So definitely we need to reduce them, we need to rearrange them. This process is called defragmentation. So once the files are defragmented, then they will be, or they look like this one. Look at the yellow color one. Now it's a file. There are 3 things, 3 pieces are there. All of them are in a continuous manner, right? They are not scattered in different areas. So they are neighboring. They are in neighboring cells. So that once you done defragmentation, definitely the answer will be, your output will be this one, right? So try to understand, it is important to defragment our file. So let's take this example also. See, before defragmentation, your hard disk look like this. Look here, you have so many fragmented file, all of them are scattered, right? Look at those red color files, right? It's a file, but it is divided into multiple parts. Even blue color one, a single file has been divided into many, right? So it is full of fragmented file. Definitely it is not good for a computer, for a hard disk, right? So you need to arrange them. In other words, you need to defragment them. So after defragmentation, your platter, your hard disk looks like this. Okay, all these files are arranged in the continuous manner, right? So if it happens, definitely head doesn't face any problems in reading. It can read immediately, right? So after defragmentation, the platter looks like this, right? Before defragmentation, you have uh, almost all the files are fragmented files. Okay. Right. So I have another example also. Look here. Before fragmentation, a file is divided into multiple, in fact, 4 parts here. So everything is a fragmented file. But once the defragmentation is carried out, then the parts are saved as continuous, right? So we can call them as contiguous files or something, right? So here it's too easy for the head to read, right? So understand the fact, even if your hard disk has fragmented files, your hard disk work, you can do things with your computer, but definitely the performance is less because, as I mentioned earlier, your head, right? There is a tiny part inside of a hard disk called head. Head needs more time for reading the data from the platter, because head has to move here and there because your files are scattered. Right? Definitely the hard disk becomes less efficiency. But once the defragmentation process is carried out, or once it is finished, your pieces of a file are saved as continuous, right, in a neighboring cells. So now head doesn't need much time for reading, right? This is the fact. So if you done defragmentation, definitely the performance is increased. Okay, so this is disk defragmentation, right? Look here, having many fragmented files in a hard disk leads to slowness of read or write. Right, this is the one which I mentioned just now. If you have many fragmented files in a hard disk, definitely it takes time, right? It is slow for reading as well as writing, because even for writing, you don't have spaces, empty spaces in a neighboring cells, right? So head has to move here and there for storing. So it is the main reason for defragmentation, right? Okay. Now look at this animated picture. Assume this is the hard disk or platter. Here I have extracted from Wikipedia, I think. So it looks like a table or something, but assume that it is the platter of your hard disk. Everything is a cell, right? Now look here, before defragmentation, right, files are scattered. Look at the red color ones, they are here and there. But now look here, the defragmentation process is going on. You can see the red color ones are already arranged. Now yellow arranged, right, green arranged. So now the defragmentation process is going on. Now look at them. Now this is over. It works as a loop, right? Continuously it works again and again. But try to understand, now red color is over, right? Look here, green over, not over now. Okay, it's over now. Look here, blue is going to be finished. Look here, it's finished. Now the other one finished, right? So this is how every small square is what? It's a fragmented file. Earlier, there are so many fragmented files, but defragmentation, once defragmentation is over, everything is arranged. Right? I hope that you can understand. So try to understand this animated image. It may give some more idea to understand the concept, right? Okay. So let's come to the defragmentation. It is the process of arranging fragmented files as contiguous files. Now everyone knows, right, the term fragmented file, right? Fragmented file, what is it? It is the piece, or they are the pieces of a file. So into contiguous files, which means they are the files saved in neighboring cells, right? Drives work effectively when pieces of files are contiguous. So when pieces are in a neighboring cells, definitely your hard disk works with high performance, because as I mentioned earlier, your head doesn't take more time for reading as well as writing, right? So this is defragmentation. Right. Then now we covered, or we finished three things, three utility programs. Disk defragmentation, just now we finished. Disk partition as well as disk formatting, right? So let's take another one. This is actually not a utility, but since it is related to your hard disk and everything, I try to explain. Look here, in a computer, we have drives. Drive is nothing, right? Maybe the secondary storage devices used to store data in your computer can be taken as drives. For example, when you have hard disk in your computer, you know, hard disk can have partitions. I already shown in the last class, there may be a part called C, local disk C, local disk D. They are the parts of a hard disk. In fact, they are called drives, right? They can be called drives. And even once you insert your pen drive, right? You know, pen drive, there is an icon shown for pen drive. So that is called pen drive drive, right? So that is another drive, or we can call USB drive. Even earlier we used floppy disk. Nowadays we don't have floppy disk. There is another drive for floppy disk. So let's take the description. The term drive used to refer to a disk drive, right? Removable floppy disk drive, pen drive, or hard disk, right? So that common term drive is used to describe three things, mostly three things, right? It can be a hard disk drive, it can be a pen drive, and also it can be a floppy disk drive, right? Before I continue, I will show you one thing. Look here. I have already shown, but better take it. This is my hard disk, right? Look here, hard disk drives. Drive is nothing, those hard disk partitions. Look here, this local disk C is one of the drives. Yes, it is partition, but here it is a drive. Local disk D is another drive. Local disk E, another drive. So mostly in Windows operating systems, hard disk drives are named as C, right? The first letter is always C. First drive is named as C, then D, then E. Even if you have another partition in your hard disk, that will be named as F, right? So if you have more partitions or more drives, definitely the letters will be continued, right? But here I have only three drives, C, D, E, right? But floppy disk, here I don't have floppy disk, but I will show you. If you have a floppy disk drive in your computer, nowadays we don't use floppy disk in our computer. That's why the floppy disk drive is not available in most of the computers, most of the modern computers. But suppose if you have floppy disk in your computer, floppy disk drive in your computer, that must be named as A, right? The first letter, which means A goes to floppy disk drive. I will show you one example. Here I don't have, but I will take a screenshot and show later. Look here, this is not hard disk. This is DVD or CD. So this is also a drive. Look at them, removable storage drive, CD. But here it is F, because I have E here. So that's why it is F, right? Another letter. Let's take that example here. If the hard drive is partition, then the partitions could be named as C, D, E. So as I have shown earlier, so it starts from C, then D, then E, there may be F, there may be continuous letters. If there are other storage media such as CD, DVD, or Blu-ray disc drives in a computer, then these drives are given different letter names, right? So if you have these CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, pen drives, definitely you cannot give C, right? Your operating system never gives C. There may be other letters, right? So I will show you one example. Look here. Yes, we have 3 drives for hard disk: C, D, E. Sorry, D, F, right? So here there is no E, it is F. This is the one which I talked about earlier, floppy disk. Look here, it is named as A, right? Floppy disk drive is here. It is A, named as A. Even if I insert a pen drive in a computer, definitely it takes another letter. So wait, I will show you, or I will insert the pen drive in my computer, and let's see the letter assigned for pen drive, right? So wait, I will show you as practical. I will insert my pen drive here. Look here, I have inserted my pen drive here. Right, now as you can see, look at the pen drive letter, that the name, right, pen drive assigned letter, it is G, because AF is already given for optical storage, which means CD or DVD. So now operating system assigned next letter for your pen drive. That's why we have G for my pen drive, right? So even this this one is called a drive, right? So that's why we used to call that as pen drive, right? But here it is CD drive. That's why these are called removable storage, right? They are not kept permanently in the computer. We can remove them, right? So that's why they are removable. On the top, we have 3 permanent drives from hard disk. Okay, so even if you have a floppy, definitely that must be shown as a removable storage device. That can be shown as A, right? Letter A, right? So it is very simple. Drives are hard disk or partitions of hard disks, removable storage devices such as pen drives, right? Floppy disks, and optical storage devices, right? Such as CDs and DVDs. Okay. Right, so let's continue, right? So take that again, description. The term drive used to refer to a disk drive. Look at those phrases mentioned in red color. Removable floppy disk drive, right? It can be a pen drive, it can be a hard disk, even it can be an optical storage device, right? Everything is called drive. So as I mentioned earlier, hard disk partitions take the letters C, D, E, right, etc. But others removable storage will take the remaining letters. But you have to remember one thing, that your floppy disk takes the first letter, right? That is always A. But since you don't have floppy disk nowadays, you cannot check it. But you may go through some of the computers which have a floppy disk drive to confirm, right? Okay. Right. Then we have to discuss some of the other utility programs. So far we have taken only 3 utility programs. Disk partitioning, I'm taking them again, right? Disk partitioning software, disk defragmentation software, and disk formatting software, right? Let's take some of the other software, but even I don't want to explain them in a detailed manner because they are not important to take as depth, right? So let's take a small introduction for all these utility programs. Look here, backup software. So I hope that you all know the word backup, right? You have experiences with the backup. So what is it? Backup is copying the data from a computer to another storage device, right? So here in my computer, I have so many files, but I don't know when or where the computer will be damaged or will be stolen, right? Anytime my computer can be broken down. So if my computer is broken down, you know, all the data will be gone, right? I cannot take anything. So as a precaution, I have to copy all these files from my computer to another storage device, maybe another computer, maybe another external hard disk. That action is called what? Backup. I think we discussed that term in unit number 1, right? Backup. To take backups, you need some software, because taking backup sometimes hard because you have so many data in your computer. So manually, it is very difficult to take backup. So there may be some programs, or there may be some softwares which can take the backup automatically. Even you can schedule that, right? So how many times in a week to take backup, right? Once a week or twice a week, or maybe once a month, twice a month. You can schedule that. So once it is scheduled, the backup process is carried out automatically. That is the role of this particular software, backing up software, right? Backup software, try to understand. Then file compress, right? Generally, we have files with size, right? So you may have heard that file sizes are measured in megabytes, right? Gigabytes, even kilobytes. So if your file is too large, sometimes it is too difficult to carry. So assume that you have a pen drive with 50 MB free space. You have only 50 megabyte free space. But you are trying to save a file which is larger than 50 MB. Assume that you are trying to save a video which is in a 70 MB capacity or something. But the free space that you have in your pen drive is 50. So now you know it is impossible, right? But with the help of this file compression software, you can reduce the file size of your video. So you know that file size, if it is 80 MB, it can be reduced into maybe 40 MB, maybe 30 MB by compressing the file, right? So even some of the big files can be compressed into half. So this is very useful, because even when we send some big files through email, definitely you have to reduce, because sometimes it is very difficult to send through internet, right? Because internet sometimes becomes slow, so it doesn't allow. So file compression software is for reducing the file size, right? So that is another utility. Then we have system diagnosis tools. So we know there may be some hardware related issues. There may be some software related issues in our computer. Sometimes it is too difficult to find the exact problem which is experienced in your computer. It may be hardware related issue, it may be software related issue, but it may be very difficult to identify the particular issue. But you may take the help of these diagnosing tools, right? The tools are here softwares, programs. So with the help of this system diagnosis tools, you can find out the issue which is experienced in your computer. It shows where the problem is, right? It shows what type of problem is experienced, whether it is a hardware thing or whether it's a software thing. So it's very useful for the people who don't have enough knowledge or enough skills in finding out those issues or those problems, right? So that is called system diagnosis tools. Okay. Then screensaver. So you might have noticed, even nowadays we don't use this facility, but you might have noticed that when your computer is idle, or when someone's computer is idle, which means that that computer is working, but no one works in the computer, no one's giving input to the computer. Now computer is in on state, but there is nothing going on. So when your computer is idle, you might have noticed that there are some bubbles, so there may be some moving text, maybe some pictures are moving here and there on the screen. Have you noticed? This is sometimes people or students use that for playing as a leisure time thing, right? Because there may be some colorful bubbles going here and there. Some pictures are randomly moved. So this is called screensaver. Right, look at this. It is a program that blanks the screen. Sometimes screen is blank, right? Not all the time, but sometimes, even though you have some words or pictures, it becomes blank, or fills it with moving images or patterns when the computer has been idle for a long time, right? So I will explain little bit. It may not be important for your exams, but as a student who uses computer, you have to understand, right? So assume that I'm working in a computer now, right? So after working some computer, someone calls me at the entrance, right? So I want to leave my computer to talk my friend who is waiting in the main entrance, right? But now once I left, right? Once I left, my computer is still working, right? I'm not with my computer. Even nobody is handling the computer. My computer is working, right? But now I went to somewhere, right? I went to my friend, right? So what happens now? For the modern monitors nowadays, you know, we have LCD monitors nowadays, flat models, LED, LCD. For modern monitors, there is no such issue. We don't have any issue. Even your computer can work without any activity. Your screen may be standstill. There is no issue. But think about the old monitor, which is CRT monitor. If it is CRT monitor, you know that monitor shows the same picture or same text for a long time, because I left from a screen and went to meet my friend, right? So for example, if I show this kind of a text, assume I left in this from this screen, right? So some other utility programs, there are some letters. Now this screen, listen to me carefully, this screen will be for a long time on my computer until I come back. Maybe sometimes hours. But when it is continuously there, right, on for a long time, that CRT monitor can do some bad things. There is an issue called phosphor burn, right? Burn in or phosphor burn in, which means your letters which are displaying on the screen can be stuck or can be burned on the screen permanently. What I'm trying to say is, look here, now these letters and everything are not stuck on, are not pasted on the screen. It is displayed on the screen. But in CRT monitor, if something is displayed for a longer period, maybe hours, unfortunately, these letters can be burnt on the screen, which means on the glass, right, permanently. So what happens thereafter? every time when you see another text or another image, your previous text can be on the screen, right? So it doesn't I mean show the other things clearly. It is a barrier. So I can show one example. Look here. This is how phosphor burning happens. Look here. This may be a display for showing departure times in an airport. So all the time they show some schedules, right? Continuously they show the schedules. Now you can see some of the, look here, some of the words, some symbols, all of them are here. Look here, you can see that. Look here, you can see the word time because they are permanently burnt on the screen. But don't worry, these are not for flat screens. For LCD, for LED, we cannot have this phosphor burning problems. But for CRT monitor, when some pictures are continuously on the screen, right, they can be burned on the screen, which means they can be stuck on the screen permanently, right? That's why what happens, that's why we want screensaver. So now when you activate your screensaver, even though you don't use the computers for some time, immediately the screensaver comes, right? Assume that I left that screen and went to meet my friend. Maybe we can set the time. So assume that I set the time for 1 minute or 2 minutes. So for 2 minutes, yes, the same screen is is appeared. But after 2 minutes, what happens? This screensaver comes, right? Those bubbles or pictures, right? We can select the screensaver type. So if I set the bubble, so after 2 minutes, the bubbles appeared on the screen, and now your screen will be protected. That's why it is named as screensaver, because now look here, even though you have the screen, but the screen is not visible, because on top of the screen, on top of your letters, you have pictures which are moving. There are no standstill pictures, right? There are no standstill letters. Now it will be very protective. That's why we use screensavers, right? But so wait some time. I have some technical issue here.